The next part of Russell's essay, Why I'm Not a Christian, involves the first of his moral arguments, or critiquing the moral arguments for the existence of God. But first, there's a brief aside. He says that there were of old 3 intellectual arguments, and all of which were disposed of by Kant, which is interesting because Thomas Aquinas had 5 proofs for the existence of God, and Kant did not dispose of them. So I'm not quite sure exactly which 3 intellectual arguments he's referring to. And I realize he's doing things in a summary fashion, but it's starting to look a little bit irresponsible and misleading. What he poses is the Euthyphro dilemma. In other words, it's the dilemma posed by Socrates to Euthyphro in the Euthyphro dialogue that Plato wrote just before Socrates' trial. And basically it says that is morality good because God says so, or does God command it because it's good? Either way, you end up on one of the horns of this argument. If you say that it's good because God says so, then really there's no morality for God, and we don't know what his character is like. He can do whatever he wants, and then God himself is not necessarily good, or God then is subject to some higher moral law. If he commands it because it's good, then goodness is something outside of him that he himself is even subject to. But he misses the point of Catholic theology. It was kind of the mainstay, one of the main points of Thomas Aquinas' philosophy and theology that he doesn't seem to get here. He just passes right by. The idea is that the source of morality is the nature of the object, that things have particular natures, and then to behave according to that nature is good for it, right? It makes us happy. That happiness really is the ultimate question here in morality. And so then God's morality comes from existing according to his nature. Our morality comes according to living according to our nature. So then to say that God is good, what do we mean when we say that? Are we saying that God is subject to some moral law and that he behaves? What we're saying is that his moral goodness comes from his ontological goodness. In other words, he is the very act of existence itself, and he does that perfectly. He is pure action. There's no potentiality in God. And so in terms of his morality, if we can call it that, he does that just by his very essence. He couldn't do otherwise. It would involve a logical contradiction, and that's not even a thing. And so then what do we mean when we say that God is good? What we mean primarily is that God is the summum bonum. He is the greatest good. In other words, he himself is the best thing for us. He is the greatest good. You see, all goodness is rooted really in the nature of existence, in metaphysics, and relates back to that. Russell seems here to have misunderstood that, and he's separating out morality and trying to talk about God as another moral agent in the universe when he is not that at all.